Jack Turnbull, you're here with Duke DeSessa, the Caulfield Cup winner. How did he come through the Caulfield Cup?
Came through it really well. He went to the beach the day after and he's had a light week. He had a gallop start of the week just gone, and his rider was really complimentary of his action and his energy levels and everything that we look at, and that gallop compared quite well to his previous workout. So even though it was the Caulfield Cup, it was still another run in his preparation, and for us, we pondered the idea of possibly travelling internationally to the Hong Kong event, but he was inoculated, and then I think as a group we're going to keep him locally, and he can have a go at the Champions 2000 next Saturday.
You mentioned Hong Kong. Is there anything in the stable that could potentially go to Hong Kong?
Potentially his next door neighbour, which is recommendation. So he is likely, his program has been aimed at that. He's potentially going to run on Oaks Day in the Moom Stakes over 1,000, and then we will head there at this stage, yeah.
Just looking at Derby Day, Saturday here at Flemington, it's one of the biggest days on the calendar, and you've got a big group of runners heading to Flemington. What does it mean to be involved on these big days?
Well, it's everything. You want to train horses to get to the major race days. We've had a very good spring thus far, winning the Caulfield Cup with this guy here, and we won the Manikato with Southport Tycoon, amongst the Fiend with Pride of Jenny. So we've started well. We collected the Everest and the Caulfield Cup on the same day, which is an amazing feat for any organisation, but let alone one that you work for. So it was a very good day to be a part of.
Just going to run through your runners quickly on Derby Day. Starting in the Carbine Club, another profit. Stepping up to a mile, what's made you go towards a race like the Carbine Club?
Well, we think she will get 8 furlongs, and the way she raced last time, Ethan, was pretty complimentary of her getting the trip. So as long as we rode her off the speed, Feroce, the favourite's normally forward and travels quite boldly. So if she was to absorb that speed and find the line, effectively, if she was to run top 3, it's going to enhance her pedigree considerably. And if that race was to come up too strong, or we didn't think it was the suitable option, we could go to Melbourne Cup Day. There's a 14 listed for 3-year-olds there.
In the tab Vanity, Delicious is the first emergency. Would you be planning on running her there if she gets a start, or would you be looking at another option for her?
Yeah, that's the plan. She travelled down from Sydney last night, actually. So again, filly, very valuable to get some black type. So if she was to get a start, she goes. Travelled down there really well. She had a light trot on the treadmill this morning, and it'll be all systems go if she does get a start.
You look at her coming out of that Reginald Allen. It was a bit of a messy race, and quite a few of them line up again, but it looks like a very open race on paper. Yeah,
that's what we think. We had options up in Sydney as well, but we just thought, given her stage of prep and what there was down here in terms of competition, it would be worth having a look.
The Damien Oliver, you've got 2 very strong contenders in the race. Firstly, Jimmy Star. That performance on Caulfield Guineas Day was quite extraordinary, and he's been that type of horse who's always promised to do something like that.
Yeah, that's right. We ran him first up over 11, which was too short of his best, but he was still too good and won. And then second up in the Hustler, he was dynamic, off the speed on a day where they weren't making a lot of ground. He's a very exciting horse who showed a lot of promise. Wasn't quite able to put it together last prep, just with where he drew, how he was ridden sometimes, and just where he was at in terms of his physical order. So he's a gelding that's got a lot of talent. He's pretty well handicapped, and I think this run will be a really good lead up to a race like the Rupert Clark.
And another Will, it'd be a bit of an emotional win if he was to win, wouldn't it?
It certainly would, yeah, especially with Jamie riding, and another Will's owned by a lot of Cole's family and friends, and yeah, given his last start failure in the Toorak, it would be great to get him back to 14 off a little freshen up, and to get him back to winning ways, because he's another horse that has really good ability. He's still coming through the handicap system, so to speak, and I think, yeah, beyond Saturday, there is a good race in him.
Is he a horse that could be a Doncaster horse in the autumn, or that sort of a race for him?
Definitely, yeah. Like he's gone to Sydney, he's had that experience travelling, and he's a horse that mentally he's always been a bit active in the mind, and physically he's a bit of a brute. He's a few doors down, and there's a lot of horse there, but he's a bit of a child, and he does let him down at times race days. So he'll be one that just gets better for age. His brother did, which is Will John. He was a really good jumper, and I'm sure as time goes by, another Will will follow him.
Shocklets goes around in the Wakeful Stakes, a good maiden win last time out, and really just should relish getting to that 2,000 metres.
She certainly should. We were tempted to run her at the Valley Saturday gone, but we scratched due to the wide barrier, so she heads to the Wakeful. I would dare say she has a break beyond that. I don't think she'd push on to the Oaks, but she will be a filly that once she gets to the autumn, she'll be a little bit bigger, she'll be stronger, and that'll be a better chance to get a bigger race.
We get to the first of the Group 1s, the Coolmore Stud Stakes. It looks a hot race, but Growing Empire goes in as one of the headline acts. Tell us, how did he come through that Sydney run in the Everest where he ran so well?
Come through it really, really well. He was up at Bong Bong, so he was another one that went in the hyperbaric chamber. He had a few sessions in our spa as well, which sits around 2 degrees. So we've tried everything to help him get through it in terms of physical and his limbs. He's always been a sound horse and a really forward-going colt, which helps because he's always straight into his feed bin. He's expressive, so he lets you know when he's feeling well. Horses can't talk and we don't understand them, so that's always nice. But gave him a little gallop on Monday, and Mark, who knows him well, said can't fault him. He wanted to let rip, but we didn't obviously need him to, so hopefully he can do that on Saturday.
Do you think, given his performances against the older horses already, that come the autumn he'll be tested against some of them again and has a Group 1, open age Group 1 in him?
I think so. I mean, like, he's only had 7 starts. He's won 4, placed 3. So even his record and his last 2 have been against older horses, albeit at weight for age. Like he is a star. What he's done to date is very good, and so long as he can strengthen, build off that, and remain sound, both physically and in the mind, because he is a bull. You know, hopefully we do get that major with him in the next 6 to 9 months.
Saint Emilion goes around in the Victoria Derby, a horse that you wouldn't think is necessarily bred to stay, but seemed to relish getting out to that trip at the 2,200 metres in the Geelong Classic.
Yeah, and it was a really good ride by Mark. We were going to ride him how he broke. There wasn't a lot of speed in the race, but we thought how he stepped away would tell us where he would like to be. So Mark ended up dragging him back, put him to sleep, and he just picked his way through and showed his stamina late because he was quite soft on the line. And that gave us more confidence too, that once we get him to a Victoria Derby, which is 300 metres more, you know, he would see it out. It's not a deep derby in terms of class, and half the problem these days are if you're a horse that can't get the trip, you know, it sees a lot of them out. But we would be fairly confident that he can.
You've got 2 runners in the Empire Rose. You've got Revolutionary Miss and also Sox Nation. Firstly, Revolutionary Miss, a filly that doesn't know how to run a bad race, really.
No, she doesn't, and I actually think she was over the odds, is over the odds. Her record since coming to us has been very good. Peter and Paul Snowden trained, and we've had her this prep, and she's placed, she's won, and then she was second in a Group 2 last start. So it is a tough assignment, I'm not denying that, but we've drawn a really good alley to land in a good spot without doing a lot of work. And so long as she sees out the mile, which she has in the past, to the best of her abilities, I think she's a really good HUA chance.
And Sox Nation, big priced Queensland Oaks winner. How's she come up and come through that first up run?
She's come up really well. Did an amazing job to win an Oaks, and you know, now as a broodmare, she's got a career ahead of her, which is fantastic. But we're actually open to possibly running her in the Golden Eagle. She did hold a nom for that, but we've elected to stay south and build a preparation down here. So she's trained up at Ballarat. The team there have been really happy with her, and although the trip will be just short of her best, I think once she has this and gets to 2,000, that's when you'll be seeing her best.
Does she back up into the matriarch the following week, or is there another plan with her?
Well, it's a potential, yeah, for sure. I mean, all avenues are open. It'll be pending form and how she does go that particular day, but it's definitely an option.
And 2 runners in the Furphy Sprint, a little deep. Again, another one who doesn't know how to run a bad race.
No, certainly. And this whole preparation, she's come back bigger, stronger. She's won a stakes race, which is fantastic, and then she's placed around that. So she was beaten by a very quick horse last start who travelled interstate, and she's drawn arguably the wrong side of the track down the Flemington Straight. She's drawn low, but hopefully we can navigate that throughout the run. But I can't fault her track work. Kieran and I are very happy with the way she's come up and how she's continued to train, and hopefully she can add to her profile this weekend.
And Ferrari did an incredible job to win last time out at Rose Hill to chase that leader down. She's a filly who deserves her chance now against this sort of competition.
She does, certainly. She got it wrong 2 starts ago. She got a bit hot in the barriers and missed it, and then last start made amends. And it was nice to see her ridden off the pace. She is a fast horse, but doesn't mean you have to be there the whole time. So she was able to take a sit, be a little bit more comfortable, and then round off the race. So she has drawn the right part of the straight. She's drawn outside or stand side, and typically that sees most of the winners just because it's unmarked ground. But it's a good opportunity to get stakes grade or stakes quality against her pedigree. I think she is up to it, and she will get there eventually, but it'll be a good test this weekend.
Just quickly, we'll go through the Melbourne Cup runners as well.
Yep.
4 runners still entered in the race. Firstly, Circle of Fire, Sydney Cup winner. What have you made of his preparation so far leading into a Melbourne Cup?
Yeah, it's been a little bit hit and miss. He was terrible first up in the Mackay, which was not him. We changed tack and put a different bit on him, added a tongue tie. He doesn't have a breathing problem, but he tends to over travel. That particular day, he had his tongue out and just did a few things wrong. So he went mile 2,000 to the Turnbull, then he's gone to the Caulfield, and each run he's got better and he's got closer to the winner. But not to say he needs to improve again. So we're up to 2 mile where he's won before at Group 1 level. He won the Sydney Cup, and I believe after chatting with Kieran, if he was to draw a better gate, he may sit closer. He's a horse that'll stay all day, but he just doesn't have that change-up speed to come from back in the field.
Good to get Mark Zahra aboard. Obviously, one of the last two Melbourne Cups.
Yeah, 100%. If there's anyone that you want on that day, it's him, and I'm sure he'd be very hungry for a three-peat. So he's a patient man. He knows how to ride these big races on the big days, and whatever alley we draw, I'm sure he will give it a good steer. It's just a matter of what's going to be best for that horse on the day.
Sushi has really found form his last 2 starts. It seems as though being able to put him into a race has really made a difference to him, and he seems to be flying.
He's flying, certainly. He's a horse that loves fast ground. Once we got him fit enough, we elected to be closer to the speed. And once he got up to 1.5 miles, he's got a really good knack of sustaining consistent sectionals. For a staying horse, if you can nail sort of 12 to 12.5 for majority of the race, you're going to be better than most, and that's what he can do. So if he's not too far off the front end, you know he's going to be able to see it out, and that's what he did the other night. So we trust that he will get the 2 mile. I think he ran 11th in the Melbourne Cup last year with Joseph O'Brien, and I think he can better that again this year, given the state of the field and his recent form.
Another horse who ran last year was Interpretation, ran 6th, made some good ground late, and he did the same thing again in the Geelong Cup behind One Smooth Operator. Yeah,
and he's getting there at the right time. He had a few plain runs at the start of the preparation, but he's a horse that needs ground. He's not a fast horse, but he can stay very well, and he's one that wants 2,400 metres plus, which you don't get a lot of in Australia this time of year. So up in trip, down in the weights. He loves Flemington. He ran 6th in the Melbourne Cup last year. It's his 3rd Melbourne Cup in a row, which is a great feat for any racehorse. And with no weight, Tio in the saddle, and given that last start performance, he's a real chance on Tuesday.
And St George, just on the cusp at the moment, waiting to see if he manages to squeak his way in. But that run at Moonee Valley suggests that he'll be a player if he gets into the race.
Yeah, we believe so too. He's got really good form lines behind him in Europe, and we know he will get 2 mile. The best is in front of him physically. He will get better for time, but if he gets a start, I believe he's 25th order of entry, he will take his place. We're not sure of a jockey because he does have the 50 kilos, which not many can do. So personally, we hope he gets his place in the Cup because it's a good opportunity. It'll be good grounding, good conditioning and seasoning for the rest of his campaign and career.